What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Trennon and Ryan Sports Show. I'm Trennon. That's Ryan.
I'm
And
Ryan.
Ryan, introduce yourself.
Yep, I'm Ryan.
Ryan, great to have you. This is our sports talk episode, talk podcast. Um, we're starting out. This is our first episode. As you can probably tell, we're a little janky on it'll be a little rough around the edges for the first couple episodes. I'm not expecting much. Well, I'm not saying that. I expect
Yeah,
good things from us, but over time, I
exactly.
assume we'll grow and get better, and that whole thing.
Exactly. Well, we'll definitely have a lot of good sports talk in here. The quality will increase in terms of video quality, but the sports talk will always be class A.
Class A. That's what we're right. So the primary objective of our podcast, just to get it right off the jump, is I want to talk about college sports. So that's kind of our realm. I mean, me and Ryan are both football guys. I
Yep.
like to say, but I think at the end of the day, I think this will be a more college oriented podcast. We might cover the NFL, and if I get risky
Yep.
enough, we might cover the NBA. Very risky that move, but I might. You never know what might happen. But at the end of the day, this is going to be a college oriented podcast. I think what
Yep.
we're going to cover a lot of college football, college basketball, and I might even sprinkle little betting lines in there next couple episodes. Probably not this episode because it's early in the week and I want to kind of get a feel of things, but next couple episodes I might sprinkle in a little college
Some vent
basketball.
lines. Yeah, just some. Yeah, exactly. Get some Vegas lines, and we'll see what happens with it.
Yeah, I've been trying to do some betting recently. I don't
Yeah.
bet. I don't First of all, anyone taking my betting advice should know from the start that I do not. I am an addictive personality. I would gamble away all my money, and I don't have any money from the start, so I don't have anything to gamble away from right from the jump. But I
hmm
started a Twitter account a while back where I do bet score sometimes. I've kind of gotten away from it, but maybe I'll get more into it the further we go on, through the
Exactly.
podcast. So,
Especially once we get back into the football season.
so tell me what you think is what does this podcast mean to you, or what direction you think we will go in? Let me go with you.
Yeah, so me and Trenton are very big college fans, especially football. I have a lot of knowledge about Clemson and the University of Oklahoma, and Trenton has a lot of knowledge about Clemson and University of Arkansas, so he has a lot of SEC knowledge. We're big college football fans. We love all things college, so we love college basketball. We may throw a little college baseball and,
Oh,
maybe
yeah,
even college
college
hockey
baseball.
next
That's
now and then. Exactly. So, um, kind of just what's in the news, who's playing right now. Obviously, college football's out, but, college basketball is starting to hit full swing. So, um, right, in the immediate future, we're probably going to talk a lot about recruiting news,
right.
transfer portal. You're probably going to hear a lot about college basketball for the next couple months as well.
Right, because right now football obviously in a dead period until the
Exactly.
recruiting day finalizes. What's it,
Mhm.
February 15th, I think?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. But so until like football season obviously ramps up in the fall or in the summer. Maybe when spring training rolls around, we could start talking about that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, some of the FCS programs are starting to start their
That's true.
seasons up, but it's kind of hit or miss. Some teams aren't playing, some conferences aren't playing, so we'll see.
Some FCS programs are starting now. I did see
hmm
that the other day. So that could be something we could talk about if people are interested in it. I don't
Exactly.
know
Yeah.
how many people are interested in FCS football, but football is
Yeah.
football at the end of the day.
Football is football. I agree.
That's true. So, but that's the direction of our podcast. So, I want to go ahead and jump in. I can go first, or you can go first. It doesn't matter. But I want to jump into our favorite teams.
Yeah.
Let's go with you first.
All right.
Explanation of our favorite teams. Why do you like Oklahoma? Got an Oklahoma fan in here, and we
Yeah.
got a
For
Clemson.
sure.
Me and Ryan are both Clemson fans, but we
Yep.
have Oklahoma guy here. So explain to me Oklahoma.
Yeah. So, as a kid, me and my family moved around a lot because of my parents' jobs. But both my parents went to University of Oklahoma, and my dad even played in the band at OU and traveled with the team and all that good stuff. So we've always been OU fans. Wherever we went, I lived in Tennessee, lived in Georgia, and now we live in South Carolina. Um, so really football started to connect with me in 2008. I believe I was probably in middle school at that point or something like that. But that was a big year for Oklahoma. We made it to the national championship where we lost to Tim Tebow's Florida Gators, but Sam Bradford won the Heisman that year. It was a huge year. The Big 12 was, just as big as the SEC, honestly, back then. Texas was good, Oklahoma was good, Texas Tech was good.
Right. And Texas Tech.
Um, so that was really a year where I fell in love with football. It just kind of became like a bonding thing for me and my dad to do. We just, on Saturdays, we'd turn on College Game Day and watch the OU game, that night or something like that. So that's just kind of how it is. It was just kind of, I'm in the family. We're all Sooner fans, let's be honest.
Boomer
And
Sooner.
then for Clemson, what was that?
Boomer Sooner.
Boomer Sooner, yeah, exactly. But for Clemson, it kind of came on a little later, honestly. Um, Moving around a lot, I didn't really, feel a pull to any teams that were in the state that I was living in at the time. So, like Tennessee, I was never a Tennessee fan. I was never a Bulldog or Yellow Jacket fan. Um, but I've lived in South Carolina the longest. And, I kind of fell in love with Clemson the same year as Oklahoma in 2008, but it was a little later on. We had gone to Oklahoma for Thanksgiving, and it was a Saturday, and my parents had got tickets for the Oklahoma State game. And before we went to the game, the Clemson Carolina game was on, and that was actually Dabo's first Clemson Carolina game. He was still the interim head coach at the time. Tommy Bowden had just gotten fired a couple of weeks prior.
They won that game, right?
He did win it. Dabo won his first Carolina game, and 31-14, if I remember right. I remember walking into the room. It was in the living room at my grandparents' house, and I looked at the TV and I saw Clemson Carolina was on. I was like, who are we going to root for? We root for South Carolina because we're from South Carolina. And my brother piped up and said, "No, we're rooting for Clemson because those South Carolina guys are jerks." And that just kind of clicked. I was like, "All right, sure, whatever. We're gonna root for Clemson. I got it." And I just kept tuning into them. Really, I kept tuning up, tuned in for the bowl game and even for the next couple seasons, which obviously Oklahoma was the team that was in the BCS BCS championship, BCS bowl games, the Big 12 bowl games. So they're the ones getting the headlines. At the time, Clemson was still, 6-6 seasons. If they were lucky, maybe they get 8 or 9 wins. So they weren't, what they are now, obviously, which is a national power. But it's been really cool being a Clemson fan, just kind of following along as they've gone from just a very average Power 5 team to, winning national championships.
Yeah, one of the three best teams in the country.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you could probably say 2 best. I don't think there's another team out there that can, really match what really Clemson's done in terms of dominance and within their conference. Even winning national championships. Like there's not, besides Alabama, obviously, Ohio State hasn't won 2 and the last decade, and it's really been impressive just to watch them come to that meteoric rise, I guess.
Right, that's a good point. I shared I'm a Clemson fan as well, and I think we talked about before we started taping that I became a Clemson fan back in 2010, I believe. They played Heineke Car Care Bowl, lost.
Oh yeah.
But I think I was a Clemson fan before then because I have distinct memories of pulling for them when CJ Spiller was there.
Mm-hmm.
And Kyle Parker, and that was a pretty decent team.
Yeah.
But I remember losing what really ingrained Clemson into me because I went to where I went to high school. There were a lot of Carolina fans. That was when I was in high school. Carolina was at like the height of whatever you want to call whatever they were. I wouldn't
say was there yet
because they didn't really win anything.
Yeah,
this is a Carolina kind of not friendly podcast. I'd like to make that off from the jump. But when they beat Clemson 5 times in a row, I think it was.
Yep, 5 in a row.
Let me know it every year, and it was ingrained in and the hatred grew against South Carolina. And I think that's really how my love for Clemson was established. I'm a big football guy. I played football in high school. I was pretty good at it, I like to think. We won a state championship a long time ago, but I think football has always been a part of who I am and not my identity, right? I'll
Yeah.
tell you a quick story. Arkansas, I became an Arkansas fan because my grandfather used to drop me off at my football practices when I was in the 6th grade. This was before I went to Northwood, and we had these practices at this community church or like a church or whatever. It was like we used their field or whatever, that big
Yeah.
field. Where the coach went to church there, so he got permission to use their field. So we used to, and the first day of practice, they trotted us out there, and the coach looked at us and asked us who our favorite football teams were. I didn't watch any football at this point. I was not a football guy at the time. I didn't know, and I was like, whatever. I was like, I don't know. Who do I say? It was like my dad was a Pittsburgh Steeler fan, so I
Yeah.
was I think I thought them for a second, but then I think somebody said Pittsburgh, so I was like, I don't want to be unoriginal. And then my grandpa had an Arkansas license plate, on the front of his car,
Oh
and I
yeah.
saw that, and I was like, you know what? I might be an Arkansas guy. And then I went for him, and ever since I've been a fan. That was probably all the way back in like 2007, because I remember
No, yeah.
distinctly in 2008. I don't know if you know this, Ryan. This is a long time ago. Ryan Mallett, not the year before he was really good, but the year like he was good the year before that.
Yeah.
But we played them in 2008. Played Florida in 2008 when Tim Tebow was the man,
Hmm.
and the refs cheated us in that game. And people say that, but those refs
Yeah.
got fired because they messed up so bad. We had a first
I
down,
kind of remember hearing about that.
and they fired the refs. Those guys got canned, as they
Hmm.
should have. They're scumbags. But like they shouldn't be refing because they obviously screwed Arkansas because Florida was the guy at the moment. You know how it is.
Yeah.
It's like it
I
now.
mean, it's still the
Like,
case. It's still the case. So I
yeah,
mean,
Alabama's the man now, so they protect Alabama, yada yada. I mean, we get it, but
yeah,
at
yeah.
the time they were protecting Florida, and then I think that was the year that Florida lost to Alabama in the SEC championship game. I could have my dates a little construed there, but I believe that
Yeah.
that was the year that Alabama beat Florida in the SEC championship game.
Yeah. No nine. Yeah.
But those were the that's how I kind of became Arkansas fan, and I've been there through the highs, and I've been through the many lows, and there have
Yeah.
been many. There have been a lot. There was
Oh
a lot
yeah.
of years of suffering, a lot of years of getting mad and screaming at the TV, knowing not no change, but I still get mad regardless. I've been there when they were good. I was there when they were good when they lost to Ohio State in the BCS Bowl.
Hmm.
Terrell Pryor,
I remember that. Yep.
quarterback. You remember he got suspended 4 games in the next season, but they didn't suspend him in the Sugar Bowl. We had to play them in the Sugar Bowl, and they beat us.
Exactly. You got to be in the big game. You can't let Arkansas win.
I was there then, and I was there when Chad Morris was the coach. I was there when Bobby Petrino got in his car wreck. Arkansas had an eventful couple of years.
They got some history. Yeah.
Yeah, some bad history. I was there in the Brett Bielema years. They weren't too terrible, but I was there in the Chad Morris years, and they weren't that great. Obviously, we didn't win one SEC game, but I think Arkansas is on the up and up. I think things are different now. I think Sam Pittman will turn around the program. One
Yeah.
thing about Ryan and me, we both pull for Clemson. He pulls for Oklahoma. Just a great winning percentage. Win, win, win,
Yeah.
win all the time. Arkansas
Okay.
is not the case. They lose majority. In the past couple of years, it's been like that. We had
Yep.
before this season, we hadn't had a game. I mean, we hadn't played a game like, we hadn't won an SEC game since 2017. And it's freaking 2020. And then we won 3 this year. That was a big deal for us. We got cheated out of 1 against Auburn when the quarterback fumbled the ball, and yada yada. I'm not gonna get all of that, but I'm a pageant. I'm a pageant football fan. Ryan obviously is a pageant football fan.
Oh yeah.
We both believe we love football. We love talking football. We love what's going on in the world. I mean, that's why we start this podcast, right? Because we want to talk sports.
Exactly.
There's a million people out there, got a million voices saying a million things. Why not throw our hats in there and give our opinion too? You know what I mean? And produce a good quality podcast while we're at it.
Exactly. I mean, we're just two guys who, really love college sports in general. I mean, there's just nothing better. And there's so much passion that goes into the college level that kind of drains away once you get to the professionals, honestly. And it's which is kind of sad. I mean, that passion used to be there in the professionals, I feel like, but it's just not there anymore. But
I tend to
you
agree
go
with
to, yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, you go
some.
to college game, anywhere. It doesn't have to be Clemson, Oklahoma, Arkansas. It could be, just a low level FCS team. It could be below FCS. You'll still get a packed out stadium full of just happy students or alumni who are just happy to be there and just enjoying the game, even if they lose. I mean, obviously you want to win, but even if you lose, you're just happy to be there, have a tailgate for the game, and get in the stadium with all your friends and family, and just it's nothing like it.
Oh yeah, I think college sports, I think college football, college basketball, and college baseball all have that factor.
Mm.
And
Yep.
especially, I don't know, I'm not a huge NBA guy, but the pageantry from college basketball to the NBA, like, you know what I mean? People are fans, but they don't go crazy over it. I think in
No.
NFL, majority of the time, I think I would agree with you, but there are some exceptions, like the Buffalo Bill people. Nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills, and that's for sure.
I'll
Them
say they're
people,
having a party right now. They're definitely having fun right now.
yeah, yeah, I would say so. Playing an AFC championship game, it's been
Yeah.
years. Long time, probably before I even started watching football. It's probably been
Mm.
that long.
Yeah.
It's been 2020. It's just been that year. It's been the weird year of wild sports takes, wild sports moments. Arkansas winning 3 SEC games. It's wild upon itself. Then you got Buffalo in the AFC Championship game. That's wild. And there's just been all kind of stuff like that this year. COVID, has made things in the sports world tougher. But
Don't
I think
forget Coastal Carolina. You can't
it's
forget Coastal Carolina.
it's like, but I feel like it's been as terrible as COVID is. I feel like sports have adapted. And I spoke
Yeah.
about this in my one of my podcasts yesterday. Is I think sports have adapted in a way where that even though there aren't fans in the stands, I feel like the quality of the sport hasn't gone down majority of the time.
Yeah. I know. I totally agree. I mean, in a lot of these, conference games, especially in the Pac-12 and the Big Ten, I mean, completely empty stadiums. But I mean, they threw up some fantastic games. I mean, watching USC Southern California, I mean, come back and all those, fantastic games.
Yeah, they had a lot of good games there. That game versus
Yeah,
UCLA was great.
yeah, it was so much fun to watch, and even like seeing like it's the most close, it's closest thing you'll ever see to a Cinderella story in college football, but Coastal Carolina. I
Yeah.
mean, a team that was in the FCS ranks just a couple of years ago, just joined the conference in the Sun Belt and had an undefeated regular season, even beat a former powerhouse team in BYU. And they're not what they used to be, obviously, but
They were
it's
pretty good
still,
this year now.
yeah, I mean, they were
They
pretty
only
good. I
lost
mean, it was
one
still
game, I think.
yeah, I mean, they only lost that one game to Coastal, really. I mean, it was a phenomenal season. I mean, there were some crazy upsets, which we always see. I feel like there may be a few more crazy upsets than we were, typically used to seeing, but it was a fun season.
Yeah,
I
I
had a
think
blast.
so. I agree. I think Alabama winning the national championship, I think I made the statement earlier that that was their best team ever. I really do believe that. I think that Alabama team that we saw play on that field. I watched a lot of Alabama. I think we all have. Anyone who's
Oh,
interested in college sports podcast has probably watched a lot of Alabama national championships over the
yeah,
years. They're
Cardinal.
all in it. It feels like, especially as Clemson fans, we've played them
Yeah,
4 or 5 times over the past couple of years, and
yeah.
I feel like I've seen a lot of Alabama teams, and man, this one right here was a little bit different. I mean, this one, the
Yeah.
defense was lacking, I think,
A
somewhat.
little bit in the secondary, just in the second. I think the offensive line, or sorry, the defensive line was fantastic. Is the typical Bama punch you in the mouth defensive line, but yeah, that secondary, they had some gaps.
Yeah, in the Florida game, they gave up a lot of points. Um, they had
But
another
they
game,
still came out on
Ole
top.
Miss. Ole Miss, they gave up a lot of points to Ole Miss.
Yeah, they did.
And but
But I mean, in the end, they still won. I mean, I think what makes this Bama team different is in the past they've had this stifling defense and in these Heisman first round draft pick running backs on all their teams. Um, And this year, and they never had a quarterback, and they always have, one or two good receivers, like fantastic receivers. Like they always have fantastic receivers, but the quarterback's just never there.
It was there
And
this
then
year.
this year, yeah, this year, I mean, Mac Jones went off. Devontae Smith was
I feel like
phenomenal. Waddle, when he was healthy, was amazing.
Alabama
Najee Harris.
Alabama had a lot of like good players this year, but man,
uh,
I think Mac Jones is gets no credit.
no,
I think you could argue that he was better than Tua or Jalen Hurts. I mean, you could argue it. I'm
way
not
better than Jalen
he
Hurts.
was.
Way better than Hurts.
Yeah,
I
Jalen.
love Jalen Hurts, but man,
Yeah, Jalen Hurts
he
was
could
home run.
not throw the ball very far. I hate to say. I love Jalen Hurts. His story is phenomenal, but um, trying to go hit that deep pass, because he just could not do it.
Oh yeah,
Um, Tua, I mean, obviously he's a first round draft pick. He's a starter in the NFL. He won a national championship. There's not much else you can say, but just looking at the two, I mean, we only have 1.5 seasons of Mac Jones, pretty much.
right.
Um, and I mean, Mac, I mean, he just blew Tua out of the water because I feel like Tua had better targets when he was in college because he had Jerry Judy, he had Ruggs, he had Smith, he had Waddle, he had all those guys, and he couldn't, you know, fully win it out. He couldn't beat LSU in 2019. He couldn't beat Clemson in 2018.
I was while you were talking, I was trying to put on the Clemson versus Florida State game. I believe they're playing tonight, and stupid ACC network, man. I swear to God, that thing is that thing has made me so mad over the years. But yeah, I agree. I think. Let me ask you a question. I'll give my opinion first, and I'll let you hear what you have to say.
All right.
Who do you think was a better football team? You think Alabama this year or LSU last year? Personally, I think Alabama was better just because Devontae Smith was just on another level. I think he was just a player that was just so outrageously great. Now that LSU team had some ballers on them. They had
Mm,
some good wide receivers. They had a great running back. They had some good defensive backs, if I remember correctly. Like they had the whole package.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, Derek Stingley Jr. is. I mean, he's a baller, but it's hard to say because you look at both and you see cracks in the defense. Yeah, amazing offenses, but some cracks in the defense, and that's um, I wouldn't say that either of them were truly complete teams. I think if you're looking just for a complete team, that's 2018 Clemson. They had the best defense and probably the best offense.
Heck yeah.
But in terms of just being unstoppable, I think that's 2019 LSU. Nobody was stopping that team. They crushed every. They literally played all the best teams. They played Alabama. They played Georgia. They played Oklahoma, and they played Clemson, and they destroyed all of them. I mean, the closest team that got to them was Bama, and they had Tua in that game. He was hurt, but
And
they
it
still
was
had
a
Tua.
full stadium. I know that sounds kind of like
Exactly. It was, yeah. I
but
mean,
I mean that was
is
one of the
that
biggest games, and that game, and they had Tua. That's true, but Tua was kind of hurt, if I
he
remember
was
correctly.
hurt. He had a little bit of ankle issue, if you remember right. I just have to say LSU because they were true. That offense, what Joe Burrow was doing with Joe Brady as offensive coordinator, they were just truly unstoppable. Like there wasn't a team out there that could have beat them.
They had a prolific offense.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow, I don't like Joe Burrow. I think that's well documented. Many people know that. He played
I don't
for
like it.
Pittsburgh in Cincinnati, even though he like what I mean he had got hurt, so he wasn't really in it too much this year. But I still wasn't happy with Joe Burrow too much. But it hurt as a Clemson fan to lose that game to LSU. It really did, and it hurt
Yeah,
this year
I
with
went in. I thought we were going to win it because I thought we had the better defense, and but clearly they found the cracks, and they were clearly the unstoppable team. No one was beating them that year.
What about Ohio State? What do you think happened this year for Clemson versus Ohio State?
You know, I, I looked at that game, and offensively, I think the Tigers did well. I mean, Trevor Lawrence threw for 400 yards. Um, ETN kind of got stopped up, but I mean, looking in the past, in big games, he doesn't really show out, and I don't think that's his fault. I think it's the offensive line's fault. The offensive line didn't really do ETN any favors this year, which kind of stank. But um, I think that the secondary, which honestly all season for Clemson has been pretty good. I mean, they've had a pretty decent year. I mean, they've been getting interceptions. They've had a lot of rotation, um, but they just got blown apart. It just felt like they didn't have the game plan right. Like generally, Brent Venables' defenses are very well prepared for team games like this, and it just didn't seem like it was their night on defense. I think if they played the game 10 times, I think Clemson wins 8.
At that time, Ohio State. I saw someone said, I don't remember who it was, but someone said Ohio State had their 100 game, Clemson had their 10 game. You know what I mean? It wasn't like, and I think one factor that matters is that Ohio State, I've heard this from a lot of Ohio State fans, that they had this monkey on their back. And it's
Mm,
like they like were just so irritated with Clemson. Like Clemson, they couldn't get over the Clemson hump. Clemson beats them. Clemson beats them. Clemson beats them. And last year they felt like they got chipped a little bit. So
yeah,
they felt like they needed to prove something this time. And I think that was kind of their Super Bowl. You know what
it
happened?
was.
They got embarrassed versus Alabama. I mean,
They did.
anybody probably would. They were a good football team. They didn't
I mean,
really.
you can tell that Ohio State was planning for Clemson all year. There was even a segment, I think it was on ESPN before the game, that they had that, 28 or 2019 score of Clemson, Ohio State in their locker room. Normally, Ohio State tradition is to have the Michigan score in there, which obviously has been a rivalry in a very long time.
Yeah,
But
uncompetitive.
yeah, they put the Clemson score in there. That was their entire motivation for the season, was to look at that. I think it was 29-23 loss to Clemson in the Fiesta Bowl, and it showed. Like they came out, they had so much passion, and they had the game plan. Like they had everything ready for Clemson. Everything they threw at them, they countered it, and they just destroyed them. I mean, honestly, they destroyed that defense, and they didn't look like they had it all together for Alabama.
No, yeah, Alabama crushed them, Bo, and I think Steve Sarkisian should get credit for the game plan he produced on the field.
Oh,
I
for sure, yeah.
feel like the underneath routes. I mean, you would think. I know it's hard. I guess it's easy to sit back and say, "Well, they should cover Devontae Smith." I think that's easy to say, harder to do, because I don't think that Devontae Smith was running wide open in the secondary. I think he was just they were using a lot of motion, a lot of trickery, moving him here, moving him there, moving him underneath. So they were doing a lot of things to confuse Ohio State's defense, and Ohio State's entire team was like injured or had COVID. It felt like so,
I
like
mean, like one of the big things that hurt was, obviously Trey Sermon, who was a big part of them getting to the championship. Exactly, like the Big Ten championship game. He had also he's a former Oklahoma Sooner. Just want to point that out. Um, he had 300 yards, over 300 yards in the Big Ten championship game, and against Clemson couldn't stop him. They could, he just ran over him, and then they lost him on the very first play.
yeah, and I felt like Clemson's defense. We've talked about Clemson a good bit. This isn't a Clemson podcast, I assure you, but we talked about, and I feel like Clemson for what their whole defense is coming back, correct? So that's a
The
good.
entire defense, yep, from
So
last year.
let's transition into that. Give me some very quick. I don't go too crazy because we got to save some stuff for some other episodes. But give me some quick preview of maybe like Clemson, what you expect from this next season, the next coming up stuff. What do you think is going to happen?
Exactly. So I think the defensive line is going to improve vastly. I mean, if you looked at this past season, a lot of the guys on the defensive line, they're all 5-star recruits, but they were true freshmen. Brian Brzee, Miles Murphy, they're true freshmen. And then the kind of senior guys like Xavier Thomas, he had some weird. He was injured. He was sick. We weren't really sure if it was COVID or something else. So he was out for pretty much most of the year. He missed the Ohio State game too. But even Tyler Davis was out the Notre Dame game, and it showed because they were able to just run right up the middle. Um, having all those guys back and healthy, and even just bringing in new recruits. Like they brought in some other 5 and 4 star recruits that are going to play this upcoming season and play a big factor. They're probably not going to start because it sounds like they have their starting defensive line because they played last year. But I think it's going to be a vast improvement. I think we'll see a little bit of change in the linebacker. I would not be shocked if we see a little bit of switch up there. I think Mike Jones and James Skalski have their positions. I think they're locks to start. I'm a little worried for Balin Spector. He played phenomenally last year. He was incredible. But if any one of those 3 guys can get booted off, I feel like it's him.
You think there's
Uh,
someone that could replace him? Like they are they bringing in someone that's that good?
yeah, so Simpson, he played a little bit last year. He was a 5 star linebacker recruit out of North Carolina. He played a little bit. He was a true freshman. And it showed that he was a true freshman when he played. He got a lot of snaps against Notre Dame in that first game, and it showed. He was a true freshman. But Dabo's shown that he doesn't play favorites. He plays who's the best. We saw that with Trevor Lawrence and Kelly Bryant. Trevor Lawrence was the best. He was going to win the national championship. He put him in. If he sees that Simpson's better than Spector, he could get the axe. Unfortunately, I could also see a little bit of change up.
He
What was
probably
that?
played some, but it
Yeah,
probably wouldn't.
he'll play. He'll play. Yeah, he's coming back. He's a senior this year or this past year, so coming back's big for him. Obviously, I don't think he's going to get drafted or anything like that. But he's a good player. He had some great stats. He played all year. He was healthy all year. He's phenomenal. But if anyone could change, I think it's him. The secondary after Ohio State, I don't know if it was just bad game plan or if some guys just got beat. Darion Kendrick every now and then. He's a great player. He's a great athlete. Originally a wide receiver, but switched to cornerback. Um, he's phenomenal, but I could also see, maybe another guy, one of those other 4 or 5 star, cornerbacks replaces him. We'll see. Nolan Turner also comes back for his 5th or 6th year at Clemson, which is ridiculous. He comes back at safety, but you never know. Joseph Charleston's right behind him. He played a little bit against Ohio State and Notre Dame in both games, and he's also very. Clemson's very young. That's the thing we have to understand is they are so young. They're stacked with true freshmen and true sophomores, and on defense, and it's just ridiculous. That defense is going to be a monster in 1 to 2 years.
I feel like they'll be good next year. I really do.
Oh, they're going to be phenomenal next year. Yeah.
I feel like Clemson might be a lot better next year. I don't know if I'm like just kind of guesstimating that, but like I feel like DJ isn't going to be as good as Trevor. I think we all know that, but I feel like the change in pace might be do Clemson some good right off the jump, maybe the next season. Hopefully we'll see like a full now that this COVID vaccine's coming out, maybe we'll see like a full-fledged college I think that's the plan. But hopefully we'll see like a full-fledged college football season.
We hope so. It'd be awesome. But yeah, defense, I have no doubt. The defense will be better next year. There's just no doubt. They're going to be rising up the ranks to being sophomores, juniors, and seniors. They're not going to be freshmen anymore. Just getting an extra year, those extra practices is going to help. And the defense will definitely be better. I think the offense and the passing game won't lose a step. I think they'll lose a step in the running game because they lost ETN. They have some good running backs. All of them are 4 stars, but we'll see what happens.
Awesome. So that was our little college football look back, I would say. If I can cover Arkansas, I'll cover Arkansas real quick. I mentioned it previously, but we went 3-7, I think. We played 10 games.
Yeah.
Better than we have been. Not as good as we could be.
Honestly, Arkansas, they played even the games they lost. Like they weren't getting
They
beat
were,
down.
we only got
Low.
blowed out, I think, like once, and that was against Alabama. So
I mean, yeah, everyone got beat up by it.
everybody,
Yeah,
so I don't feel too bad about it.
exactly. I mean, you played close games again. I mean, Texas A&M. I mean, it was a couple
We,
touchdowns. I think it was 10 points actually.
we should
Uh,
have beaten Texas A&M would be the other team that I would consider. I mean, we never gave up. That's facts.
you
But
never
we
give up.
never were in shot of winning that game. You know what I mean? It's kind of like
Yeah,
that.
it
Texas
was
A&M,
still
they played
close.
a game. I mean,
Looking at it,
considering what Texas A&M was this year, the
yeah,
fact that we were even competitive.
exactly. I mean, they were inches away from the playoff. They won an Orange Bowl. Say what you will about opt-outs for North Carolina, whatever. They won the Orange Bowl. I mean, they were right on the cusp of playoff. It's a great team. They should have beat Auburn. That was horrible refing. They would have beat them otherwise, but they play
Yeah,
a lot of close games, and
I
I
mean,
mean,
we played teams this year that had blown us out. I mean, last year I can name it like the not 2020, but 2019. I'm pretty sure Auburn blowed us out, Mississippi State blowed us out, Missouri blowed us out, LSU blowed us out. Um, I don't think Ole Miss was competitive, and we beat
yeah,
Ole Miss this year. Who else did we beat? I
yeah,
don't even remember who we beat. Lord have mercy. I'm blanking on it right now. I
we
don't even
definitely beat
remember.
them.
But 3 games, and I'm not even doing any good as a fan. I remember we beat them. Whoever we beat them good. That's crazy. Is that we beat Mississippi State, we beat Ole Miss, and we
Play
beat
Vandy.
who?
Vandy.
No,
No, you didn't play Vandy.
had to be somebody from the East. No, we lost to Georgia and Florida. So we lost to Georgia, Florida, Alabama. Had to be somebody from the West. I'm just blanking on them right now. We lost to Georgia, Florida, Missouri. Then we lost to Alabama. We lost to Auburn. Lost to LSU. That's 7 losses. I need another win. That's crazy. I can't remember we beat Mississippi State. We beat Ole Miss. Is there another SEC team? I'm just SEC West team. We lost to Texas A&M. Did we go 2-8?
Let me see if I can pull it up. I'm pretty sure y'all won 3, but let
I
me
know
pull
we did too. Am I going crazy here? Florida blew us out too.
I
I'm
mean,
on good Arkansas.
Florida.
Man. I know
Florida
more
had
about Clemson than I do Arkansas. That's crazy. I can't remember that. That's insane. But
Let's see. All right, Arkansas. Here we go.
I lost all credibility now.
All right, so you beat Mississippi State. You beat Mississippi State
Yeah.
21-14. You beat Ole Miss 33-21. Great defensive game. Ton of picks. Insane amount of picks.
Out there like 7 picks.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, 6 or 7. And you beat Tennessee.
Tennessee, that's it.
24
Bags full of cash. We beat them bags full of cash. See, we don't even pay our players. They're paying their players bags full of McDonald's bags full of cash, and they can't even beat us. That's crazy.
Yep. Yeah. I mean,
crazy town. What do you think about that?
You had incredibly close games against LSU, Missouri, and then of course you should have beaten Auburn. But I mean, that just shows that how far. I mean, 2019 was a train wreck for Arkansas. If you remember right, you went 2-10. I mean, that's awful. But the very next season, I mean, it's a COVID year. It's weird. You don't play as many games. You have no out of conference games to get those like confidence wins, and you go 3-7. And honestly, you easily could have gone 5-3. Like,
yeah,
I think it's a big win, and I think the next couple of years we could be talking about Arkansas a whole lot more.
We talked a lot about Clemson's players returning. Arkansas had like almost all their players return too, other than like Felipe Franks and some guy who sucked. He transferred. So it was like all things considered, I think for the most part, it's like we are doing pretty good. And I think, I mean, majority of our players, the top or one of the top leading tacklers in the SEC on Arkansas's name's Grant Morgan. He's coming back. Bumper Pool, one of our linebackers, is coming back. Jalen Catalon, he had to come back, I think. But like, we have Treylon Burks, our star wide receiver that everybody loves so much. He's coming back. Obviously, I think he had to. And then like Mike Woods, another great wide receiver. And we have a quarterback, KJ Jefferson is his name. He's going to be the guy. I believe. Now there is another guy. I'm not sure what his name is. I want to say it's Malik Hornsby. Does that name mean anything to you? Could be
Doesn't ring
him.
a
I
bell.
don't remember. But I think we have another little QB competition going on.
Okay.
But I think KJ Henry is going to be a great player. I think he's going to be really good.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see where that goes in the future, Arkansas football. And I'm excited to see where Clemson goes. So I want to transition. Let's transition into college basketball.
Okay.
So a little touch and go here. We're not going to know this topic as well right now, but we can talk about what we watched. I know at this very moment, at this recording, this will release on Friday, but I'm watching the little box score here. Georgia Tech leads Clemson 40-30 with 3 minutes to go left in the first quarter, first half. So I think let's give our rough preview, or not preview would be the right word, but rough evaluation of the teams we pull for. You can do Clemson, I'll do Arkansas,
Yeah.
and we can go from there.
So, I mean, Clemson, they've started strong. It's a little rough right now. They just got pounded by Virginia, and of course, as you just said, they're losing to Georgia
Georgia
Tech.
Tech, 40-30.
Um, yeah, so I mean, they started strong. I think it was last week. Clemson was the highest ranked ACC team, and that's over teams like Duke, UNC, Louisville,
That's
Syracuse, Notre
bonkers.
Dame. Like that's it's just not supposed to happen. Clemson is not a basketball school. Um,
Speaking of
they're just
not
not.
basketball schools, how about Alabama, best team in the
Yeah,
SEC?
seriously,
That's not fair, man.
seriously. I mean, it makes no sense. I mean, even like transitioning like to the Big 12, like Baylor. Of course, Baylor has a wonderful women's basketball team. Has produced some fantastic female WNBA players, but the men's team they've been decent. They've been horrible. Now they just crushed Kansas the other night, and Kansas is normally the team that runs the Big 12. They run the show, out there. But
Maybe
yeah,
Baylor's the
Baylor
it's
looks legit.
I don't know if you've noticed this, but it seems like the big three, they used to be big four. I don't know how Michigan State's doing this year, but the big couple ones that always like Kansas, North Carolina, Duke, they kind of suck this year. I don't know if
Yeah,
because and Kentucky, that's the other one. Kansas, Duke, North Carolina, Kentucky, the
yeah,
four blue schools, and they're just not having the year. I'm watching a North Carolina game right now. North Carolina's only playing Wake Forest. They're 8-5. That's bad for North Carolina.
yeah. I mean, North Carolina was bad last year too. If you remember right, they finished with
Oh
a
yeah, they
losing
were.
record.
Didn't they go to the NIT or something like that, or going
Yeah,
to?
something like that. Yeah. I mean, it's a little shocking that Kansas is doing good. They're just not great.
It's just not what it
Obviously,
has been.
it's clear. Exactly. It's
It's
clear
not
that
likely that they'll win the whole thing.
no, yeah, they're not going to win it. I mean, it's clear that Baylor and maybe even Texas Tech. Texas Tech made the final
Kind of
of the
Texas,
championship last year.
if we're talking Big 12 basketball, at least.
Yeah, and I mean it's crazy, but maybe Kansas isn't the power in the Big 12 anymore.
Maybe
Maybe Baylor's getting there. Yeah,
they
maybe
just need
Baylor's
to, they just
getting
need
there. Texas Tech's showing up. Who knows?
they need a recruiting class with some special players, and they'll be there. They'll be back.
Yeah, I
Good.
mean honestly,
All right, as you were saying, Ryan.
yeah, I mean Gonzaga has just been a team that's got to be talked about as one of the best. I mean, best two. I think Gonzaga and Baylor are the two best teams right now.
Right.
And they should be the two favorites to win the championship. I mean, obviously, college basketball is a little harder to predict than college football, but I mean, Gonzaga's played,
Hey,
they played some good teams. They played Kansas. They played a couple other Big 12 schools, and they've blown them out. I mean, and they're
one of
playing their typical, schedule, their conference schedule, and they're crushing everybody. I mean, let's just be honest. There's no one in their conference that can even compete. Um, but yeah, Gonzaga. I mean, they're ones to look out for, and they look good.
that was one of the things when the 2020 March Madness tournament got canceled. I
Yeah,
was so sad because I was like, dang, March Madness is so much fun. I mean, I don't even really watch a whole lot. I mean, I'll watch Arkansas majority of the time basketball, but I'm not a huge college basketball guy.
Yeah.
I'm becoming more of a fan now because of this thing, specifically because of this podcast. But I've watched more college basketball in the past 3 days than I have in like 5 years probably. When I think about like March Madness, I love March Madness. Like even though I'm not really like a huge like diehard college basketball guy, like it's such an enjoyable tournament. Like it's like something that's really like it's fun. Everybody, you never know what might happen. This team might lose, that team might lose. And majority of the time it ends up you had the same big boys in it. Usually you get kind of your Villanova versus North Carolina every year, but usually sometimes, you can really have a good thing going on. And that's why I really appreciate college basketball because I think
Yeah.
there's more
Yeah.
unpredictability in basketball, especially in college basketball. In the NBA, it's a little like, yeah, someone
Yeah.
might have
You know,
hot
it's gonna win, but
but like in college basketball, it is truly random.
I
And
mean, it is.
I mean,
It
sometimes,
is.
like I said, you can have consistence like that.
Mhm.
I remember I was listening to somebody talk about that Kentucky team from, I don't know if you remember when Anthony Davis was on Kentucky.
Oh
They had
yeah.
really good, they had a really good basketball team that year. Now,
Oh yeah.
sometimes you have things like that, but other times, it's not going to be like that. Majority of the time, it's not going to be like that. I don't think it's like that this year. I don't know of really anybody right now that's doing like insane work, like and like some insanely good player. Who did you told me who it was the other night? Wasn't he for like Oklahoma State or something like that?
Yeah. Cade Cunningham, I think is his name. I
Number
mean,
one projected pick in the NBA draft, like
yep.
6 months from now,
Um,
but you never know what might happen. But
exactly. I mean, you normally don't expect big time players to go to a school like Oklahoma State. I mean, I'm not saying anything bad about Oklahoma State. It's just not
yeah, a
your
little stoking the
traditional.
fires of the rivalry, Ryan.
I
Stoking
know,
the
right? Let's talk Bedlam here,
we're
but
kicking. Yeah, you're kicking out our Oklahoma State audience.
but it's just not the big basketball school that everybody talks about. Typically when you see number one overall draft picks, they're coming from Kentucky, Kansas, Duke, UNC. Maybe Michigan State floats in there. I mean, or not. It kind of depends. But it's just weird. Of course, Oklahoma has seen their number one overall draft pick in the past, and Blake Griffin, but that was a very long time ago. And even then, Oklahoma is, every now they'll have a good season every now and then, but it's weird seeing a number one overall.
Yeah,
What was
Army
that?
basketball is usually pretty consistent.
Yeah,
I mean, they don't make the NCAA tournament every year, but they may make it every other year. But we have
exactly. Like,
produced some good players in the past couple of years. Um,
mhm.
Bobby Portis,
Oh yeah,
Gafford, I think those are two really good ones that are
oh
playing.
yeah,
Yeah, there's probably other ones that I'm not thinking of.
yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
I can plug my alumni school. I'm still going to school there at the time, but College of Charleston got some good players. Joel Brantley plays on the G League in the for the Utah Jazz,
oh
and
yeah.
Healy, I believe he plays for the Charlotte Hornets, and that's pretty. It's pretty cool. Like basketball wise, I don't think this is our year. I don't think they're very good, but I think things will get better. I think you know, well, I can talk about them a little bit. Just to update you, Georgia Tech and Clemson just went to halftime, 44-35. Georgia Tech, so a 9 point
Okay.
better than 10.
Yeah, but one thing about College Charleston, I think is really interesting is, they've really put a lot of time and effort and money into their facilities. I mean,
Yeah,
they have some nice facilities. Let's be honest. They're not
like
UNC
what
or
we
Duke.
are. I agree.
Yeah,
I mean, we're not South Carolina. We're not Clemson,
yeah,
but we're
no,
just
they
we're
have a
downtown
really.
Charleston.
If you've ever been to Charleston, I'm sure most of you watching this probably have, but College Charleston has a beautiful basketball stadium. It's
Yeah, they do.
hard downtown Charleston. When you walk up, you're not even sure if it's a basketball stadium. It doesn't look like it. It looks like an old building, but and you walk in and it's pretty cool. It's a nice area. Honestly, that kind of thing attracts recruits. Charleston is it's a growing city. A lot of people are coming here. We're seeing all kinds of people from New York and California and DC all just flowing in here. Um, and college Charleston's a really cool, college, and it's a really cool city to be in, and having nice facilities, nice stadiums, good coaching, and chance to win conference championships and make it to the bracket, that attracts recruits.
Right. I agree. I agree. So I'm gonna wrap it up here. We've talked for about, I believe, almost nearing an hour. I don't think it's quite an hour yet, but I want to go over our final pitch. So this is the final shebang. Talk about why people should watch this podcast. Why should they be interested in
Well,
two losers?
exactly. So, I mean, we're just two guys who enjoy sports. I mean, we just really like to just talk about, college sports. Really, I mean, every now and then we're probably going to talk about the draft because that correlates with, college basketball, college football, whatever. And we'll probably have like a Super Bowl episode or something like that. I don't
Yeah,
know,
we'll
maybe
probably
touch
talk
on
about.
that.
I imagine next week we'll talk about the divisional. I mean the conference, whatever
Yeah.
the AFC and NFC championship games.
Yeah. But yeah, we're just two guys who just like to talk about sports, and just spread our knowledge. I mean, we have a ton of knowledge about our particular teams, those conferences that those teams belong to, which, are three of the, five power conferences. And we just like to have a good time. We just like to have a good time and just talk about, what we love, really.
I think one thing that's important, my pitch will say, is like we're not doing this because we're popular. I don't
Yeah.
think I don't think either of us are doing it because of money. We're not doing it because of popularity. We're not doing it because we think we're cool. We're doing it because we truly love college sports. Like we truly have an
Exactly.
integrated love for it. And I feel like that's what makes it great because
Yeah.
you mean you've come over here like we're paid if like we were forced to do this, it wouldn't be the great content. But the fact that we
Mhm.
want to come here and do this, and the fact that we like this is like a pastime for us, this is something if we could share our little bit of information, our little bit of knowledge with the people, we are men of the people. So if we could share that knowledge with people, I mean, I really feel like it's good for everybody. I mean, I feel
Yeah.
like we get some satisfaction out of it because we're able to share our knowledge and make some takes, make some jokes. I'm gonna crack some
Yeah.
jokes. That's how I am. But then I feel like, and I want people to come here if they want to hear about college sports news and college sports, what's going on in the college sports world. And I feel like next episode, when we talk about the NFL a little bit, or we talk about whatever we talk about, next episode is going to be a little more in depth with, I'd like to say, with like the recruiting, college
Yeah.
basketball. This is our introductory episode. I think it went
Yeah.
really well. Um,
Mhm.
I'm very happy to be doing it with my co-host Ryan. He's very great. He's a great guy, maybe one of the best. And I'm excited for the future. I'm excited for everything that's going to happen. So our release schedule is going to be on Friday mornings.
Mhm.
Friday mornings will be the release. Well, Friday. Let me say Friday because I
Friday.
don't know how long
Yeah.
YouTube is going to take to
Don't
upload.
hold ourselves to anything.
Yeah, that's true. So every Friday, we're going to come out with a new episode every Friday. And we're going to be, hopefully, we'll be doing stuff. Maybe we'll plan some stuff in the future. I don't know. I haven't really talked to Ryan about that yet, but maybe we could do some stuff. You never know. So I'm excited for what's going to happen, and what will happen, and what's happening right now in this podcast. Any closing words?
Exactly. I mean, we're going to be talking a lot more in depth, as he said, about recruiting and just future of the teams, and even in season. I mean, we're going to be learning a lot about the future team, players of these teams too, especially with recruiting and transfers. Just kind of get an idea of what these teams are like, what's going to be happening into the upcoming seasons, or what's happening now in the seasons, injury reports, anything like that. So, we're going to try and go as in depth as possible on these on our teams, and even just general college sports news around the country.
All right. Well, thank you, Ryan, for joining me. Thank you for the audience, whoever watches this.
Thank you for having us.
I can't wait for the future. I can't wait for next week's episode. I'm already wanting to record it right now. All right, y'all. We'll see y'all later.
Yeah, have a good one.